welcome to this video today all about how you can avoid burnout as a leader. Now, a recent study in the New Zealand Herald said that 70% of business owners are experiencing signs of burnout. And I'm sure you're feeling overwhelmed, businesses, hard yards, the economy, there's so many things on your plate right now. So what's really important is to keep in mind your health to avoid you burning out and the consequences of you not being able to operate in your business. I'm Danny Ferrier, and I'd love to share with you my insights into how I work with my leaders to help them to maintain their mental health so that they can show up as amazing leaders in their business and continue to work rather than being in bed with the flu or not being able to operate for a long time. Now, I'm not an expert on burnout, but I do know that overwhelm on a consistent basis and being highly stressed leads your brain to slowly shut down, and eventually the stop button has to happen. And that's what burnout is your brain and your body saying, stop, we can't do this anymore. And the reason why it does that is because you have created unresourceful processes for yourself that are, for you don't experience them as being significant, but they compound. And over a period of time, they end up creating a really big shutdown in your brain because they're unsustainable, because you don't have enough energy anymore to be able to continue. And I get it. It's really easy. It's really easy in business to put that pressure on yourself all the time, to have super high standards for how you're showing up in business, how you're serving your customers. And that seems all well and noble, but it doesn't actually help you as a leader, because you have to remember that, yes, it's good to serve your customers well, but not at the expense of your health. And we all have standards for ourselves. We all want to be the best people that we can be, but when you are doing it to the detriment of your health, then it's a time to look in the mirror. One of the things that I've noticed about burnout or people who are in constant overwhelm is that they have neglected to put in the small steps, and those small steps are really simple things. For example, a client of mine, we've been talking about her going for a walk at lunchtime, and I'm talking about once a week, twice a week, but just a little walk to get out of the rhythm of business. And probably 6 months later, she's in bed and sick, and we looked at what she has been avoiding doing. And those real little simple things like going for a walk or drinking water or having boundaries around her time, they weren't happening. And then over 6 months now has compounded into her feeling terrible, her immune system shutting down, and her being in bed. And there's a really beautiful quote that I read, and I can't remember who said this originally, but they say, make sure you give people the best of you and not the rest of you. And when you're giving all of your energy to your business, your family suffers, your friends suffer. And it's not fair on them for you to be giving so much to a business when actually you are your most important resource. You matter the most. And so making sure that those small and consistent things that you know help your well-being, that you're maintaining them. So the first step is really listening to your needs. That is the easiest thing to start doing to avoid burnout. And I'll give you an example. Drinking water. I remember somebody said to me, if you're thirsty, it's already too late. Your cells need to rehydrate on a consistent basis. And if you're thirsty, it's your body going, hey, we haven't had any hydration and we're sick of it. But when you can have a water bottle by your desk, or you take some time in the day to think, how much water have I had? That small pause, that little moment to check in with what your needs are, is important. Another example is doing a little transitional meditation. If you go from doing the accounts to then starting a new project, just setting a timer on your phone, maybe 2 or 3 minutes, and then being able to check in, how am I going today? What do I need? And taking a few deep breaths. Breaths are always going to help you to recalibrate and understand your needs so that you can listen to them. The second point is delegation. If you are a leader, you have a team. And I can bet that if you're feeling overwhelmed, it's because you're not using your team. And delegation is a skill, and I get it. It's really a challenge to delegate when you feel like you don't trust your team members to take on the work. But delegation is about you letting go of the control and allowing others to step into their power, into taking over from you. A client of mine recently told me that they couldn't let go of doing the accounts because they didn't want to show the bookkeeper the figures for the business. That's control. What shame is there in your figures? You should be proud of your figures. So letting go of that need to maintain the control of everything and trusting that the other person, who's your team member, will be able to take that on. The question here is to ask yourself, am I the only person who can do this? That is the golden delegation question. And if the answer is no, pass it off. Give it to somebody else. Let them manage their capacity, but help them to take this responsibility from you. And if in whatever case you don't trust them or you don't think that they have the capacity to take on the role, then it's a training issue. Are you training your staff enough to be able to delegate? And what quite often happens is people onboard their team member and then they say, okay, sweet, you've got the role, that's it. And that team member just continues doing the same processes and isn't continuously learning. So there's a value that I have in my business, and it's canny. And this comes from Toyota in Japan, and it's constant and never-ending improvement. And when you have the canny mindset, when you think about continuous improvement, then when you're going to do something within your business or within your position as a leader, then you ask yourself, who needs to learn this? Who is not trained in this area? And you find a time for that team member to come with you, and you can slowly start passing off the work to them because you're upskilling them consistently in the background. Or, for example, if you don't feel like you trust that team member to take it on board, then you need to spend more time with that team member. So that's training as well, but also understanding how that team member works, what they need from you, and most importantly, what you need from them to be able to build that trust. So out of those 3 things, listening to your needs, delegating, and training your team members consistently, which one of those 3 do you know that you need to do more of? Those will help you to be able to avoid going into burnout and not being a statistic. If 70% of New Zealand business owners think that they're burning out right now, how can you be the difference? And most importantly, how can you teach your team members how to be sustainable with their energy so that they also don't burn out? Because remember, everything comes from the top. If you're doing it, your team members are seeing you doing it, and you're modeling to them how not to be. So I trust that this was a Good Friday tips video. Would love you to like and share it if it was helpful. My name's Danny Ferrier. Thanks, and bye for now.